Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 2 of the North American Challenger League. I am Rapid. I'm here with Studio, and we're into our last game of the night. And what an incredible game it's going to be. C9 Tempest going up against LoLPro. Two of the best teams in this league. I mean, LMQ kind of gets that top spot after some incredible performances, but Cloud9, HyperX Tempest, and LoLPro, both some of the best teams we have underway. And getting this game underway with a nice, safe start. Everybody spread out across the river.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's been the era of passive starts. Not a whole lot you can do if you're feeling a bit risky. We did see a great invade last game, but in general, it's not too safe to go in for an aggressive start, and teams are spreading out so quickly and efficiently, you can't reach the enemy lanes or enemy jungle in time. That spear did a lot of damage at level 1. That was actually pretty impressive, but that was almost full length in the range, and it'll probably be healed off. Actually, there's not really that much time to heal it off unless he leaves right now, which looks like Cortez will make it back to base in time. Nope, changes his mind.
Yeah, Cortez should be able to regen that health. There's not all that much to regenerate, so it's not that big a deal. But still, just checking things out. Landing one spear, landing two. Taking down that flow meter for Bishu, but they'll have some time to build it back up.
Yeah, a little bit of early harass. Definitely be one out on the side of LoLPro, but it is, the tiniest of harass. Yeah, a spear here, a spear there, not too big a concern. Wukong now going to move towards his own blue buff. Should have fairly passive starts from both sides. It's just everybody's kind of spotted out. No late invades. Really too viable right now.
Yeah, you really don't get a whole lot more other than just blowing summoners early on. Because once you, nice ability to build over Peacemaker damage down in that bottom lane, before the minions even get into lane, it's Altec down to half health.
That's some summoner level 10 shenanigans going on right there, walking into the brush like that to set the trap. They were not going to help out Vi, though, because he wanted to just try and assert some lane dominance. But instead, a really solid setup for Cloud9 actually getting the better end of the harass, though Nami's sustain will be huge, and Caitlyn taking a lot more pressure, but should be able to sustain up decently with her life steal runes.
But you don't really go for plays like that unless you're looking to get a kill, and if you don't, the sustain advantage that Nami provides with that ebb and flow is going to be a little bit more than the sustain that, of course, Altec and Gleave Glarber have, but able to trade that damage right back. Low and Laud do have to be very careful in that bottom lane.
Yeah, they've taken a lot of harass that they can, kind of deal with. They can't get in burst range. Lulu does have some of the best bursts in the game at early levels that help Pix. Gliderland's combo is actually very damaging. Then you factor in an extra auto attack with Pix herself, just dealing some extra DPS. It's very easy to get bursted down if you don't expect it. And of course, Ebb and Flow is affected by Ignite, making it a little bit worse. However, it's going to be more of a push lane now. Lucian can just go ahead, try and farm it up. He'll be pressured underneath the turret, and they're not going to have a chance to get that level 2 really bursty combo you see from Lucians really often, just because they're pushed in so much they can't fight in a larger minion wave. And it's just going to be a nice, safer passive lane for Cloud9 Tempest.
Gleave and Altec back up to basically full health after, well, both sides got pretty low, but you look at, there's actually a mana potion in Lowe's inventory, so he's going to be able to sustain up pretty well. Bishu going in for those early melee trades. It literally just doesn't quite have enough mana or ability power to make those heals matter. And with Bishu putting on a lot of pressure, keep himself very safe there in that lane, but does have to watch out. That's kind of the mini game there with Yasuo. You have to dash in there, but your dash goes to fix them out, so you have to make sure that you don't get under turret, take too many turret shots, and lose your lane out that way.
Gotta go ahead, count the paces, make sure everything's gonna work out nice and fine, and you don't end up accidentally dying, which would not be the best situation for Bishu in the mid lane, though he is doing quite well himself. Ahead by about 6 CS. It is a fairly even lane, and Diddley's taking a decent amount of harass, but you kind of expect that to happen, and of course with the heal, she'll sustain it right quite up. As Bishu himself, he's going for some extra pressure, but he knows he's not gonna really shut her down reliably without some help from Wukong.
Now, Cloud9's Lomo Nation, a.k.a. Yazuki, up in the top lane, trading things out there with Hanser, and looks like he's actually winning those trades just a little bit, and throwing out, of course, that Flame Breath will win it just a little bit harder as well. Junglers jungling, but with one notable exception, that is Heaven Time, looking to get in there into the mid lane. Coming up behind Bishu, backs him on off to the side and walks away. Somewhat of an anticlimactic gank.
Just kind of saying, hey, I'm here, let me Lily farm a bit. All right, nothing. Okay, I'll just leave. It can be hard to get a gank as Vi reliable. You have to land a Vault Breaker, and from max range, sometimes it just isn't going to happen. She was walking a ward, though. Heaven Time, can he set something up here?
Altec will get a nice 90 caliber net backwards, blows a lot of his mana, but does keep himself safe once again from that Heaven Time gank. So 2 ganks, 0 kills, and that means that the extra time that Kez has actually spent farming is really going to start to pay off.
but there is still a slight gold lead in favor of LoLPro at the moment. It's only 300, not massive, just going to be a little bit more, I'd say, due to some of the runes possibly, and the Renekton lead up top is quite huge. Yazuki's not having the best time, though there is going to be a larger creep wave outside of his turret. He's still behind by a decent amount, maybe 10 or so CS.
Watching those trades down there in the bottom lane. Nice dodge of that Pilt over Peacemaker by Laud, but strays that damage right back onto Glebe Glarbu. One auto attack after another, but Altec able to get a ton of auto attacks off there onto Laud. The sustain there from Nami is going to be good, but not quite good enough to remove all that damage.
This is just the game of pushing right now. As mid lane's being chain pushed by Yasuo. Has actually broken up for a second as he's gone back to base. Top lane is the chain push coming in from Hanser onto Lomo Nation. He doesn't want to let Lomo Nation have a chance to use the AoE on the burn while attacking him. He wants him to focus on using it defensively while clearing out those waves, which lets him pressure a bit more, get a bit more harassed up and try and sustain with Cold and Meek. And then bot, it's the same thing. As Glebe Glarbu's harassing, as Altec just in the back pushing up those minions. This is the game where no one wants to fight. Okay, it is up at the top lane.
Now, Hanser's putting on a lot of pressure, but there's the exact going to burn down Lomo Nation. Yazuki goes down, and Heaven Time reading that gank like a book. It's just beautiful. I look outside, it's like it's rain, because it's reading rainbow.
I mean, the Vault Breaker into the Dragon's Descent, just knocking it out of the sky. That dragon had no chance to descend. And with that First Blood going towards Hanser with the Ignite, which is going to be the huge impact right there. Now that Hanser a little bit more gold. If you can get an early snowball onto a Shyvana, you can make a lot of happiness for Renekton before that fight becomes just the wet noodle engagement. So if he gets a little bit of early damage is what I would expect. He's just going to be able to go ahead, keep on snowballing on Lemon, or on Yazuki. I think that's what he wants a name change for, so people mispronounce his name. I almost said Elimination, and he got me. But
he's moved from support to top
there
lane
you
now.
go. He went to the Challenger team and is also a top laner now. Very odd
It's
shift.
not just XD.GG that's changing their roster.
Yeah. But with that, with Lomo Nation, aka Zuki, back in the top lane, and just behind now, you'll see a lot of damage come from Hanser with that pickaxe, and that Negatron cloak. It will also do a lot of defensive work.
All right, well, we are going to have a little bit of a pause here where we get everybody back into the game, at least in the way that they would prefer to be. So while we do get everybody back, we're going to probably go back to ourselves and kind of talk about the first things that are happening. A couple of things that you may be able to see on the screen right before we transition. Yuzuki's CS, which is, wow, going to remedy itself. All right, so a little bit of a pause in there. Jack is going to not have a lot to say to Bishu. He's just dashing around that mid lane.
I mean, it's Yasuo having fun. What are you going to do? Like, you can't stop Yasuo having fun like that as Jackie gets knocked up in the air. It's a lot of mobility, and he really can't engage with a spear at that point just because it's going to be a little bit riskier in case, well, you know what? He can dodge and very easily dash it. We see Heaven Time back in the bot lane. Not going to do a whole lot of work. Just kind of looking for that gank, looking for that play. Does have the ultimate, so he can use the Assault and Battery to try and pick up a kill, but probably not going to be using it on the bot lane just due to the solid ward coverage from Cloud9 Tempest, at least in the river.
All right, so we're back underway. What I was talking about earlier is Yuzuki's farm.
He's getting trounced.
Yeah, he's not going to have a good time in that lane. You'll notice the Negatron cloak picked up there by Hanser, as well as a pickaxe. He's going for offense and defense, but no health in there. So he's going to have to get that from somewhere a little bit later on. Probably with like a Kindle Gem. Maybe he's just going for that Spectre's Cowl.
Maybe the R button, actually. That Dominus might just be enough for the early game because he has such a lead.
Yeah, that's a great place to get it. It's a little bit of both sides of the same coin because when Shyvana ults, she gets a lot more defensive stats. When Hanser ults, the Dominus gives him a bunch of HP. And so when you get HP, you want resistances. And when you get resistances, well, you want HP.
Yeah. Hanser also, he has such a CS lead just because of his early pushing, but also Yuzuki was in the worst position to die. When you die at your own turret and the minion wave is there, you're going to miss all of that CS, which Corkez did pick up, so he will have a little bit more experience and is level 6 looking for a possible gank as he heads towards that bottom part of the map. But because Yuzuki died in such a bad position, he lost a lot more, and it's going to be just a harder lane that we'll see a Hanser try and snowball more and more.
Now Yuzuki in the top lane, once again, you can just see losing out those trades pretty hard. Now Hanser putting on that pressure. Man, top lane, I think we've seen 3 Renekton versus Shyvana matchups so far. So 3 out of 5. It's a pretty popular lane matchup, and you're going to be seeing it probably a lot more. So get used to it. Another thing you should get used to is the Dragon. Just now being both up in the top lane by Yuzuki and being done right now by Cloud9 HyperX Tempest. Heaven Time in the area. Looking for the steal, but not able to find it there as it will go over the Cloud9 HyperX Tempest at about the 10-minute mark.
Solid overall. You can see Yasuo actually using the wind wall. Just looking for that defensive play against the Dragon. reducing that damage, if by anything. Assault and battery onto Bishu, though.
Wait, the flash in there as well. Bishu gonna go ahead, throw down that last breath. It gives him a refresh of his Way of the Wanderer shield and gets it out of there alive. A perfect combo, doubling up that shield, giving him just enough HP to survive.
And of course, who wins the battle is Summoners. Two Summoners were burned by Heaven Time and Jackie. Fight up at the top lane, though. Izuki taken quite low, and Jackie might be in a bit of a dangerous spot, but...
Pretty sure Kez could have gone in on that, but didn't want to.
Well, he didn't have the ultimate as well, so didn't want to go for it. Was the riskier play, and I can see that little bit of safety. He still gets some experience, but yeah, he might have been able to pick up that kill, but it was a big might. Chasing in Italy is always just terrifying, because if you do not catch her in the first couple seconds, she does get away. In the end, though, that exchange, they do send Yasuo back to base, but going to be a little bit more in favor of Cloud9 Tempest, just because they preserve their summoners, keeping up both flashes on on Kez and Bishu, while Flash, Barrier, and Flash were burned by Nidali and Vi, respectively.
Alright, so things actually going pretty well. Bubble will not land, just Altac barely getting out of that bubble. It's about as close as it comes, but he's still going to be on that lane, pushing it out, and with about a 1,000 gold advantage. It's hard to find advantages across the board here for Cloud9 HyperX Tempest. Things either even or in the favor of LoLPro, especially when you look to that top lane. I was expecting more defensive items to be built there by Hanser, but goes back to base and grabs that Tiamat, so not looking for any more defenses just yet.
I like how Hanser builds. A lot of it's out of convenience. For example, he bought the Negatron cloak because he had the cash for it. He could have kept going for the Tiamat, but the actual magic resist would be a lot more useful, even if it delays that Tiamat pickup. Hanser himself, though, this is minute 11 of the game of Renekton, as he's just staying aggressive, staying far forward. As the spear is going to go ahead and shatter on that wind wall. Nice try, Jackie. I mean, not the worst. It's on a long cooldown on the spear, so he doesn't get her ass off, but he does kind of waste some of Bishu's time.
Oh man, that's actually another spear to land there onto Bishu, as we do see Wukong positioned right there towards the back. One wind wall is going to block one spear, the other one not quite so lucky. And now Jackie actually going to jump in, pop that Way of the Wanderer shield again. Keep in mind that comes back up just for moving, so it's pretty cool. Going for the dive there behind the turret. Kez coming in behind enemy lines, going for the knockup into the last breath, and Jackie jumping away as fast as he can, but not enough. Kez takes him down.
The staff to the back, and just use that extended staff pull to knock down Jackie. Journey to the west is going to be successful this time around, as this mid lane turret will not survive for long. In comes the monkey, in comes Yasuo. Very easy pickup there. And that is the issue for Italy. That knockup from Wukong sets up so much for Yasuo, and it just sets up so much more CC and damage that there is little she can do to survive that unless she has a flash or barrier available. Both of which reasons.
Oh, Heaven Time, though, goes for the ultimate, but just gets cut down before he can do just about anything. Too squishy to deal with anything. Built aggressively instead of defensively, and while he does have that Spirit of the Elder Lizard complete, was not tanky enough to survive the dive.
You can also see the early static shiv on Bishu, just for the extra bit of movement speed, extra bit of damage for the crit. Now, this is where things get really, really scary if you're going up against Cloud9 Tempest, because, alright, Shyvana's not doing that well, but what does Shyvana need to do in a team fight? Dive in, die, honestly. She'll do a bit of damage, but it's mostly that burnout AoE, and the Flame Breath to set stuff up early on. And that also sets up Wukong's ultimate, that sets up Bishu's ultimate, and it's all about just kind of getting the early initiation off. Hanser's going to be a bit more of an assassin, but he's not quite as impactful in team fights as Yuzuki is, even if Yuzuki has less items. So if they start grouping up soon, Renekton just won't be that useful. He's going to be a little bit too squishy, but Yuzuki can do what he needs to do despite being behind. So if Cloud9 Tempest really start pressuring with engagements or just group fights, you'll start seeing a whole lot more happen if we can't see the proper assassination come out from LoLPro.
Picking up that pickaxe, Bishu on his way to an Infinity Edge. Won't have it for maybe 2 or 3 extra minutes, but still pretty far ahead of schedule, even without any kills. As those assists and about 20 CS lead, 10 CS lead, let's keep it real. There in the mid lane, some additional pressure there by Heaven Time. Bishu's actually going to look for that knockup. Going to go in for last breath. Ignites down as well. The crits that come out, just so many of them, so plentiful. Bishu finally grabs himself a kill, almost 1v1, grabbing a nice pick onto Heaven Time.
The Yasuo damage is just intense, and Kez in the top lane area might go for Hanser. Did not use the ultimate, did not use any important cooldowns in that engagement. Might have tossed out the clone, but that's a good 16-second cooldown, and that is just the Yasuo trend. If Yasuo gets ahead and has any sort of backup, it is so easy for him to get a burst combo, even on a relatively tanky target like Vi, who does get a bit of mitigation from her passive, though she has not built tanky yet, only has Spirit of the Elder Lizard. for that DPS. Haunter in the top lane, almost at full HP, does have Dominus available, but he's going to have 3 friends coming in very, very shortly.
Oh.
But they don't actually know he's there.
They don't know he's there. They're farming behind his turret. They're like, oh, which way did he go?
I guess he went back to base because when he went back to buy, but they do check that brush,
Oh,
though. Maybe in for a surprise.
They're going to walk into the brush and find him, and I'm going to head up there, and there we go. I don't think they actually... Wait,
They did not know. No idea.
And
But guess
like,
what?
whoa, wait.
Now he knows they're there.
He's coming in from behind. Bishu there, going to get ulted. There's the assault, the battery, the dominus as well. Bishu going to try to kite away from here. Ignites down, and so is Bishu. Heaven Time taking him out, and the weirdest gank I've ever seen. Wise up, taking Bishu down.
I mean, if you're going to check those brushes for a champion, check those brushes. They can always be hiding there. It's like a Pokemon. Find him in the brush. Haunter staying true to his name. The damage in the bot lane is Altek's taking a lot of harass. LOD, though, taking the real brunt of the damage. Caitlyn, can't you get the finisher? One more little spell from Lulu might be enough. The heal comes out.
It's just not enough. Summoner heal, something we didn't talk about earlier, but Lo just goes down without much of a fight. Spear will miss as well, and now Jackie going to get jumped on.
Kez just going for the harass, just immediately disengages after getting the combo off. It's a hard chase for Wukong, especially as he does use a dash to initiate. Barbu duke to the side, who has to avoid those spears. This could be huge for LoLPro. 2 members are low, and the spears do so much damage.
Altek actually gets hit by a trap. There's actually a nice shield out there. Heaven Time will be forced to use that nice little Vault Breaker away, but there will be a Vault Breaker he won't be able to use to get in range here for the Dragon. Now Kez is going to knock up Heaven Time. No follow-up from Bishu, as he did not quite have that. Actually, he did have that last breath off cooldown. Didn't want to over-engage himself, and we'll just back out of that one. Takes the Dragon down. It's a nice consolation prize. Second Dragon of the game there for Cloud9 HyperX Tempest.
And with that, their gold lead now 2.7k. This was an early game for LoLPro. They actually did have the gold lead, especially in the top lane. And Haunter is still a bit more effective, but eventually the wet noodles do dampen, and the fight has slowed down quite a bit top lane. Still in favor of Haunter. He will maintain a larger lead as the game progresses, but in general, Shyvana versus Renekton has slowed down quite a bit. And this is the point in the game where Renekton just gets a little bit less effective versus Shyvana, who can just build a lot of physical defense. I believe Yuzuki should be close to his Sunfire Cape at this point. I'll in the bot lane. Dueling versus LOD takes a lot more damage for his trouble.
Oh, the Culling coming out as well, but he's not able to strafe because he walks into a Caitlyn trap. So takes a turret shot too. That's not the way to win a trade. Spear comes out, lands onto Bishu. The knock up, no engage there onto Jackie. Jackie's pretty squishy there, but he went for the old Death Cap first build. And a Tear of the Goddess, so that's one way to do it.
I mean, he's not looking for the magic resist. What's the magic damage coming out of Cloud9 Tempest? It's Lulu damage, it's Shyvana damage, not a whole lot.
Oh, but a nice bait straight from the bushes there. Altek gonna get jumped on by Heaven Time. A lot of damage in there, but Kez is right there where he needs to be. One more auto attack. No, the shield for Gleed Glarbu gets him out alive. Bishu's gonna get taken down there. Oh my goodness, so close, and Laud has the damage. Goes down, 1 kill picked up there for LoLPro. Looking to pick up another, but no more to come out there. Kez gonna go back in onto Jackie, but even Jackie's okay. Heals himself up with a Primal Surge and an overall 2-for-0 exchange. Second kill, of course, being my vocal cords, which kind of broke in the middle of that fight.
I mean, if you stop the wombo, if you stop the combo, what is Wukong's use in a team fight if he doesn't have the ultimate available? Could not get close enough and did not have the ultimate. So Bishu, when he went forward, there was a combo there waiting for him, but he could not actually start it off. Getting chain burst before he could do anything. And that is going to be a lot of LoLPro's gameplay. Can they go ahead, stop those combos from really bursting out over on the side of Cloud9 Tempest? Hop in the wet noodle fight. It's gone a little bit damper as Yuzuki and Haunter just kind of trading blows in the end. It's really just the Sunfire Cape damage that's really doing a lot of the DPS here. But if LoLPro can do that again, if they can make it so Wukong either has trouble initiating well or can't get a reliable initiation because his ultimate's on cooldown or he's not in range, then they can burst down Bishu before he can do anything. They can burst down Kez before he can do anything. He's not super tanky, but he does have a lot of raw HP right now. So this is going to be interesting to see how they can kite this out. It's either going to be spears to weaken people beforehand so they can't really do anything in response, or that hard initiate just to shut someone down immediately in a fight so Bishu doesn't get set up or kill Bishu himself.
Kaz is going to beat down that blue buff, probably take it for himself, just so he has more Cyclones out there to set up for Bishu, who hasn't really been snowballing, gets burst down before most of these fights start, and you got to give that credit to Heaven Time. That guy has been involved in 100% skill contribution on LoLPro, just coming out of the bushes, snatching your Cloud9s up, and really making the rest of C9T wish that they had hidden themselves maybe a little bit more. Heaven Time pretty good at hiding himself and keeping himself hidden, taking out another ward there. Jackie takes a little bit of extra damage, but with that blue buff, with a ton of extra health coming his way from that Primal Surge, and a lot of push down mid lane, he should be in a little bit of trouble.
All right, this is the push down the mid. This is where Nilly can excel, and of course, the Steel's win will be huge here. They're trying to take out this turret as quickly as possible. Initiation does come out. Can they catch anybody, though?
Oh, Bishu's looking to go in. He's in the front of the team. Bubble will catch Kez, so there's a counter engage from Heaven Time. Going back in there, will get hit up by a trap. He's in the middle of the enemy team, not where you want to be. Altec on a killing spree, taking him down.
The communication not quite there. The bubble did not land. The CC was not chained. Altec takes a lot of damage himself, but unfortunately Heaven Time, he was somewhere where he thought his team would be, but they could not follow up. Ultimate still available across the board, too, for Cloud9 Tempest. They also have a great defensive ultimate and lose, but they will give up that mid turret just for safety as Bishu has gone to the top lane. In the end, a slight trade in favor of LoLPro as they do pick up a mid lane turret, gets them a little bit more map control, but Heaven Time, just a little bit of miscommunication with his team.
This is pretty interesting to watch. I liken this unto, you know, a lot of strength up there in the top lane. You have 30 CS, 40 CS now advantage for Haunter over Yazuki. His name I'm going to say correctly instead of just reading it off of his name tag. But yeah, a huge advantage up there in the Crocodile. I'd like to think that that would be because when he spins around, it kind of looks like a helix, and then he's going up against Cloud9, which is kind of like Start 9, which is, you know, you got the battling forces here, and it's nice to see this come all the way, make its way into League of Legends, which hopefully won't be being played by Twitch chat anytime soon.
What? Sorry about that. My knowledge of clouds is just not that excellent. You got me on the sky knowledge there, Reed. But you're right, though, in that right now Shyvana is just getting trance. And you really need Blade of the Rune King, I think, is the core item for her, where you use that for the really sustained damage, especially with her Dragon Strike versus Renekton. And it is just Shyvana's pain day right now, who cannot do a whole lot, and has actually abandoned the lane, giving up that top turret. But you can tell both teams are looking for that engagement because both teams are really squishy. Like, Yasuo is a squishy melee mid. Nidalee is a squishy cat that can be very easily initiated on by, let's say, Wukong. So there's front lines, but there's such low range and also very catchable casters on either side that it's very easy to burst someone down. And hopefully we can see just who can get the better initiation, who can get better. So that was important. That was huge. That was his team staying alive.
Wow, nice win ball. Yeah, like you said, keeping the rest of his team from getting initiated on. We haven't really talked about the supports really making these big plays to turn things around, but 3 assists there on Glebe Glarb, who's really been getting in there, helping out not only his bottom lane Altec get fed, but a dragon takedown. Kez gonna get a huge knockup right into Bishu's ultimate. The last breath just about aptly named. There's gonna be the fish down on the ground underneath the water in the river and flash over the wall there. Hauser gonna take the ace in the hole and go down as Altec on a rampage. 4-0-0. Jackie finally makes it out of the fight. Not gonna try to throw down a spear, just heading back to base, and a 3-for-0 off of one of the biggest engages I've seen all game long. Cloud9, HyperX, Tempest lose the dragon, but win the team fight. And
that is what happens when you have such squishy lineups on both sides. Vaya did go for a more aggressive build with the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, and no one's tanky on either side really compared to the massive AoE, the massive burst, the massive chain CC coming out from both C9 and actually the massive assassination coming out from LoLPro. It's all about who gets that first catch, and the second an AoE team gets a catch on another team that relies on initiate, they just sweep it like that. And that's great play. That's great combination. I love the Shyvana Wukong Yasuo combination. There's so much knockup, and of course Lu to back that up offensively if needed, or to defend defensively if the Yasuo is doing well enough on his own. Mid lane, the push comes out from LoLPro. They do have spears. They're going to try and chuck that out before Yasuo can come and defend with his wind wall, as he will be anti-fun for that mid lane against the Nidalee push. Any pressure they do get, any turret they do get, is going to be a nice little quick advantage they can grab.
Oh, but Bishu coming in for the flank, in from behind, does have that last breath off cooldown, because of course it's a very short cooldown ability. Coming in for the flank around the corner. No Cyclone up just yet. It's up in about 1-2 seconds, and there it is. Kez now has that big initiation. You can also go in off of a Dragon's Descent Spear. Will get dodged out from, but there it is, the stealth in, a huge initiate once again, the knockup as well, the last breath, and everybody from LoLPro just dying one by one. We've got Heaven Time dead low to follow, and there's going to be the death for Haunter, the furthest ahead member on his team, just goes down without a fight, and the engage just way too much to handle. Cloud9, HyperX Tempest just using all their hidden potential.
I mean, they're knocking them to the skies and just shutting them down with Bishu. Bear now being taken. Going to be very easily cleaned up, though. Kez is fairly squishy right now, low on HP. Able to smite this out with no problem. They could try and defend this and do something with the Noli Spear, but they're a bit too late on the side of LoLPro. Jackie now being caught out. 2v1 versus Altic. Wait, they just have to run.
Law not quite so godlike there, getting caught out, kind of Vasily style. If you guys watched LMQ's game yesterday, got caught looking and not with the rest of his team. Cloud9, HyperX Tempest get the Baron and the pick, now looking for the first inhibitor of the game.
And what do they have to defend against this? Heaven Time does not have his ultimate. Haunter does have Dominus available, but it's not a whole lot of damage they can do on the side of Cloud9, especially without LOD. And, well, 7,000 gold lead for Cloud9 Tempest. They have the massive AoE comp. They've been using it to great effect. Wukong doesn't quite have the spin up. Dragon's Descent has just recovered for Yuzuki in the top lane, and they can just keep pushing this down. They can go ahead to start a team fight, and honestly, as soon as Bishu's ultimate and Kez's ultimate are both back up, they can start a team fight and just do whatever they want at this point. They will be playing a little bit safer, not going for the complete Lomo play of diving into the enemy base, but you know what? That's enough. They got the Baron, they got the turrets, they are set up to just push down, try and take an inhibitor with really no risk. The Nili Spears are not going to do a whole lot. The wave clear is not that strong outside of Lucian on the side of LoLPro.
Yeah, Cloud9, HyperX Tempest, they pretty much got everything for free. They got Baron for free, didn't even take damage from Baron because, of course, the wind wall blocks Baron auto attacks, which is also incredibly fair and balanced, and other things that perfectly describe Yasuo. And his initiations this game have been incredible. 307, almost perfect kill contribution there for Kez, who has been just getting in, starting these big fights, which almost always go in C9T's favor. So big starts, big fights, and everything going big, possibly even tomorrow. Cloud9, HyperX Tempest looking to come out of the base and use the second half of their Baron buff to close out the game.
Spawn the wards, looking for that perfect initiation. They can always play Jungle Warrior if they feel the need to, just try and get that surprise gank off. LoLPro cannot enter the jungle at this point. They can poke around. They do see Altic in the bot lane, can try and start a 5v4, but honestly, Altic isn't the big person in these fights, which is terrifying because Altic is farmed out. He has Last Whisper, Phantom Dancer, and a Bloodthirster, and he is still one of the less important members of his team right now in a big team fight. So they already have an AD carry that they don't need to rely on that has scaled to late game incredibly high damage build already. So how are they going to play this? It looks like they're going for a bit of split push, just trying to get the lanes a little bit more pressure. And Haunter might be out of position here. Does have the slice and dice, though.
He's going to slice through the wall. Doesn't get the dice, but that's all he needs to reposition himself to safety. Top lane, the push continues for Yuzuki. He's going to try to push that turret in uncontested, and it'll be Heaven Time to come up to try to stop him. So for the meantime, LoLPro, they're kind of trying to stanch the bleeding, trying to just make it back to base and heal up, not lose as much as they can, or lose as little as they can, I guess. But will lose all their outer turrets. It's going to be a 6-3 advantage for C9T.
That's all out is gone, like he said, which means guess what's left? The inhibitor turrets, when Wall is out, going to go for a little bit of push. Initiation and under the turret.
And there's the last breath to follow up as well. A huge spin to win there by Kez getting in there. Bishu finds one kill. There's the Dragon's Descent as well. Haunter will finally kill off Bishu, but it's a dive behind those turrets as Kez and Yuzuki finish off that fight. It's a 1-for-3 exchange, and the first base tower not even taken down there. They'll come back to it a little bit later on. Altic still deathless, and a huge factor in that fight. Didn't find any kills, but was there for some morals.
I mean, he got a total of 1 assist because his team just outran him so much. I think he took most of his damage from the turret, just walking through it. And that is the game they played. Cloud9 Tempest, so solid that the AD carry, they didn't even need to rely on him, and he was already farmed up to hell and back. That Nexus, it's not gone for this world. Give it 1 second, give it 2 seconds, we'll be going down right about now. And with that, Cloud9 Tempest going ahead, I believe taking their second win here in the NACL, looking solid, looking really damn good.